Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever thought that something as small as the way you move your tongue could change the course of your life? I know, it sounds almost unbelievable. But tonight, I want to open your eyes to a truth so simple, so overlooked, that it could literally save your brain from a stroke. And it takes just 10 seconds. I've spent decades studying how the smallest actions in our daily lives influence the grand machinery of the human body. And the tongue, that small, pink muscle we take for granted every time we speak, swallow, or smile, might just be one of the most underestimated tools we have for brain health and stroke prevention after 60. Now, before you think this is some internet gimmick or viral hack, let me tell you about Margaret. She's a 68-year-old retired school teacher from Seattle. 3 years ago, she came to a community wellness seminar where I spoke about exercises that improve blood flow to the brain. At that time, Margaret had already been told by her doctor that she was borderline at risk for a stroke. She had high blood pressure, mild plaque buildup, and often complained about dizziness when standing up too fast. But Margaret was a listener, and more importantly, she was a doer. For 10 seconds every morning and night, she practiced what I'll soon share with you, the simple tongue press exercise. 6 months later, during a follow-up checkup, her carotid ultrasound showed something extraordinary: improved blood flow and reduced stiffness in the arteries leading to her brain. Her doctor was amazed. She was doing something no pill could replace, training her own vascular system from the inside out. So, what exactly does the tongue have to do with stroke risk? Let's go deeper into the science. The tongue is not just a muscle, it's an access point to one of the most critical networks in your body. Underneath it runs a dense map of arteries and nerves that connect directly to your brainstem, your vagus nerve, and the tiny muscles that control breathing, swallowing, and even your heartbeat. Every time you move your tongue intentionally, you activate this hidden communication line between your brain and your cardiovascular system. When you press your tongue gently to the roof of your mouth, just behind your upper front teeth, you trigger something fascinating. You stimulate the sublingual arteries and the vagus nerve. This action improves microcirculation, helps regulate blood pressure, and enhances oxygen flow to the brain. It's like flipping a natural reset switch in your autonomic nervous system, the very system that controls heart rhythm, vascular tone, and stress response. I remember once telling this to a room full of stroke survivors during rehabilitation training. There was a man named Charles, 72, who had suffered a mild stroke that affected his speech and balance. He could barely say his own name without trembling. Yet, within 3 weeks of daily 10-second tongue exercises, combined with deep breathing, his articulation improved. His balance got better. He told me, with tears in his eyes, "It feels like I'm rewiring my brain from the inside." And in a way, he was. Because that's what neuroplasticity is, the ability of the brain to rewire itself, to build new connections even after damage. And yes, something as small as a tongue exercise can activate the brain regions responsible for coordination, blood flow regulation, and motor recovery. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture: stroke. Every year, nearly 15 million people around the world experience one. A stroke doesn't always announce itself. It often begins in silence, through years of microdamage, tiny blood vessels becoming stiff, narrow, and inflamed. And while diet, exercise, and medication play huge roles, one thing we often forget is that blood flow is not just a matter of the heart. It's a matter of the nervous system. Your tongue happens to be one of the easiest ways to access that system. When you're over 60, the muscles in your face, throat, and neck begin to lose tone, just like the muscles in your legs or arms. This weakens the natural pump that helps return blood from your head and neck to your heart. Think about it: every swallow, every press of the tongue, every coordinated movement of that area creates a gentle massage for your arteries and veins. But when those muscles become inactive, stagnation sets in. Blood flow slows. pressure builds, plaque sticks, and risk rises. That's why this 10-second tongue exercise isn't about doing something strange or new. It's about reactivating something nature designed for us long ago, but we've forgotten to use consciously. Here's what Margaret, Charles, and dozens of my patients practiced: a simple tongue press combined with slow, nasal breathing. You take a deep breath in through your nose, press your tongue firmly but comfortably against the roof of your mouth for 10 seconds, then exhale slowly and relax. It's gentle, silent, and takes less time than checking your phone notifications. But the beauty lies in the biology it awakens. Each time you perform this action, sensors in the arteries of your neck, the baroreceptors, detect the pressure and send a signal to your brain that says, it's safe to relax. Your blood vessels dilate, blood pressure decreases, and your heart rate stabilizes. You've just sent your cardiovascular system a 10-second message of peace. In a world where stress and tension are silently choking our arteries, that's no small miracle. I once met a woman named Helen at a wellness retreat in Vancouver. She was 63 and had been living with chronic anxiety for nearly a decade. Her blood pressure was constantly elevated, even on medication. She told me she felt her heart never stopped racing. I taught her this same tongue exercise, not as a trick, but as a form of self-connection. Within a week, her resting blood pressure dropped by nearly 8 points. A month later, her physician reduced her medication dose. She later sent me a message. For the first time in years, I feel like my body listens when I speak to it. And that's what this is really about. Listening to your body and letting your body listen back. You see, stroke prevention isn't just about what you eat or how much you move. It's about balance, the harmony between your heart, your brain, and your nervous system. And that harmony begins in the smallest of places: a muscle beneath your words, a movement beneath your awareness. When we train the tongue, we train the bridge between thought and physiology. That's what's so remarkable about it. You're not just improving circulation. You're activating mindfulness through motion. 10 seconds of focus that ripple through your entire vascular system. But let's take a step further. What happens in your brain when you do this? Imaging studies have shown that the act of pressing the tongue to the palate activates regions in the insula and brainstem, areas deeply involved in regulating blood pressure and stress. It's the same network meditation taps into. That means this simple act mimics, in part, the effects of deep relaxation and meditation, but in a mechanical, direct way. Think of it as a neural handshake between your conscious effort and your body's automatic systems. 10 seconds of cooperation. 10 seconds that could, over months, mean the difference between a strong, oxygen-rich brain and one struggling with poor circulation. And that's not all. Tongue movement also stimulates salivary glands, increasing the flow of nitric oxide, a powerful natural molecule that helps relax and widen blood vessels. Nitric oxide is like your body's own vascular repair kit. As we age, production declines, leading to stiffer arteries and higher blood pressure. But a 10-second tongue press can help restore that. Now, pause for a moment and think about the power of that. Something that costs nothing, takes no equipment, and yet taps into the very chemistry that modern medicine has been trying to replicate for decades. That's the marvel of the human body. It's been holding its own medicine all along. Of the marvel of the human body, it's been holding its own medicine all along. I often tell my audiences, the secret to longevity isn't hidden in laboratories, it's hidden in awareness. When you become aware of the smallest mechanisms that keep you alive, the pulse under your jaw, the rise and fall of your breath, the gentle movement of your tongue, you begin to live in partnership with your body rather than in ignorance of it. You see, many people after 60 start to feel disconnected from their bodies. They talk about fatigue, foggy memory, trembling hands, or unsteady balance as if these are signs of decline they must simply accept. But decline isn't destiny, it's often disuse. The body you live in is still capable of regeneration, but you must awaken it. I remember a man named Edward, 74 years old, a retired violinist who had lost partial control of his left hand after a transient ischemic attack, what we call a mini stroke. When he came to see me, he looked defeated. His speech was slurred, and he could no longer hold his bow with confidence. We began a rehabilitation plan that included gentle facial and tongue exercises, 10 seconds at a time, 5 times a day. At first, he laughed. "You really think this little thing will help me play again?" he said. I smiled and told him, "Let's not aim for the violin yet. Let's aim for vitality." 4 months later, Edward walked into my office holding his violin. He played the opening notes of Bach's Air on the G string. His hand was still shaky, but the sound was alive again. He told me, "The strangest thing happened. My breathing feels steadier, my mind clearer. It's like something turned back on inside me." And I thought to myself, yes, that's what happens when we reconnect the circuits of the brain and body that life slowly teaches us to forget. Now, let's talk a little about why this 10-second exercise matters so much after 60. As we age, the inner lining of our blood vessels, the endothelium, becomes less flexible. It's like a garden hose that's been sitting in the sun too long. It stiffens, it cracks, and water doesn't flow as easily. Every time you activate your tongue against the palate, those subtle nerve signals encourage the release of endothelial nitric oxide synthase, an enzyme that helps restore elasticity to blood vessels. You're not just preventing stroke, you're rejuvenating the entire vascular tree, from the tiny capillaries in your brain to the major arteries in your chest. But there's another hidden benefit. Tongue movement plays a crucial role in breathing patterns. When your tongue rests correctly against the palate, your airway opens fully, allowing deeper nasal breathing. Nasal breathing, in turn, filters air, balances oxygen and carbon dioxide, and keeps your blood chemistry stable. Many older adults unknowingly develop mouth breathing habits, especially during sleep, which can increase blood pressure and reduce oxygen delivery to the brain. By training the tongue to stay strong and lifted, you correct that pattern, naturally improving brain oxygenation night after night. And here's something that still amazes me: this simple habit can even influence your heart rhythm. The vagus nerve, which runs from your brainstem down to your heart, is like a peacekeeper of your body. When stimulated through gentle tongue pressure and slow breathing, it releases acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter that slows heart rate and lowers blood pressure. That's why, when you practice this for 10 seconds, you might feel your body soften, your shoulders drop, your mind clear. That's not imagination, that's biochemistry. Now, imagine what happens when you make this a daily ritual. 10 seconds, 3 times a day. That's just 30 seconds in 24 hours. Yet, those 30 seconds could become the hinge on which the door of your brain's future swings. I'll share with you a story that still gives me chills. A woman named Sophia, 70, came to one of my seminars in Lisbon. Her husband had passed away 2 years prior, and she told me she'd been feeling lost physically and emotionally. She often woke up with numbness in her fingers and a pounding heartbeat. She feared something terrible was coming. A stroke, a heart attack, she didn't know. But her tests were always borderline. She started practicing the 10-second exercise every morning, mostly, she said, because it gave me something gentle to control. 3 months later, she returned with a radiant smile. Her blood pressure had normalized, her sleep improved, and her neurologist told her the carotid plaque that had been forming had actually stabilized. When I asked her how she felt, she said something beautiful. "It's like my body forgave me for neglecting it." That, right there, is the emotional core of this conversation. Because behind every scientific term, vagus nerve, nitric oxide, neuroplasticity, there is a story of forgiveness and renewal. The body is not your enemy. It's your oldest friend, always waiting for you to come back and listen. When you press your tongue to the roof of your mouth, take a slow breath in and release it gently, you are saying to yourself, I am still here. I am still connected. I am still capable. You see, after 60, the goal isn't to fight aging, it's to age intelligently. The difference between decay and vitality often lies in small habits, repeated consistently. This tongue exercise is a symbol of that truth. It represents a mindset shift that big results often come from small, conscious acts performed with intention. Science has a beautiful way of proving what wisdom has always whispered. In Eastern traditions, tongue posture and breath have long been linked to life energy and longevity. Modern research now confirms what those sages intuited centuries ago, that tongue stimulation affects blood flow, brain waves, and even the parasympathetic nervous system. It's as though two worlds, ancient and modern, finally shook hands. And yet, the most compelling evidence I've ever seen isn't in lab data, it's in faces. The faces of people who thought their best years were behind them, but discovered they could reclaim strength, clarity, and calm through something so simple. I remember a man named Raymond, 66, who came up to me after a conference in Toronto. He said, I haven't been able to meditate for years. My mind races too much. I taught him the 10-second exercise just 1 minute before he walked away. 3 months later, he emailed me, you won't believe this, but every time I do it, my thoughts quiet down. I feel present again. It's become my anchor. And that's when I realized the power of this small act isn't only in the arteries or nerves. It's in the return to awareness, the ability to feel the present moment pulsing through you. For those of you listening who may be skeptical, I understand. It's easy to doubt something that sounds so simple, but simplicity is the hallmark of truth in biology. The body doesn't always need complexity. It thrives on rhythm, repetition, and restoration. The reason this 10-second technique works isn't because it's magical, it's because it honors the design you were born with. Think about it every time a newborn baby nurses, it performs rhythmic tongue movements that coordinate breathing, swallowing, and heart rate. That pattern of connection is built into life itself. Somewhere along the journey of aging, we stop using it consciously, and the system begins to dull. This exercise simply reminds your body how to be alive in harmony again. So tonight, as you listen, I want you to remember this. You don't need expensive machines or exotic treatments to protect your brain. You need awareness, breath, and 10 seconds of commitment. You need to care enough to listen to your body's whispers before they turn into alarms. And when you do, you start to see aging differently. Not as a slow decline, but as a deeper dialogue with yourself. Every time you perform this exercise, imagine you're rewiring circuits of compassion inside you. You're improving blood flow, yes, but you're also creating emotional flow. You're learning to slow down the world within you so the world around you can feel lighter, clearer, calmer. One of my patients, David, once told me, I used to think longevity was about how long you can live. Now I think it's about how awake you can stay while you're living. I couldn't agree more. So as you leave here today, I want you to take this with you, not just the knowledge, but the practice, in the quiet moments of your day, before breakfast, before bed, before a difficult conversation. Pause, take a breath in through your nose, press your tongue gently against the roof of your mouth for 10 seconds. Feel your pulse slow, feel your mind quiet. Then release. That's it. Do it once, and you'll feel calmer. Do it daily, and you'll feel clearer. Do it for life, and you might just protect your brain from the most silent killer of all, time itself. Because sometimes, the key to a longer life isn't in adding more years. It's in adding more awareness to the years you already have. Ladies and gentlemen, this 10-second tongue exercise is not a miracle, it's a reminder. A reminder that healing begins not in what we buy, but in what we notice. And the more we notice, the more the body begins to trust us again. So tonight, when you brush your teeth, when you look into the mirror, smile at yourself, And remember, your tongue, the very muscle that speaks your truth, can also protect your life. 10 seconds at a time. Thank you.